Hey, ministry entrepreneurs. We are on day 5 of our wisdom series, and it's getting good. It's warm, and we're warm. We're diving in, and my head. Okay. So chapter 5 in this one. Okay, so it's the elephant in the room a little bit. We know that Solomon had a lot of wives. There was a lot that he was working on, and there were a lot of women. And this chapter is a reflection of that thing. So start off, and again, we're reading from the New Living Translation. So our headers might sound or look different than yours, but for here it says, avoid immoral women. And I know this is a father talking to a son, but also I know there are elements of this that can apply to women too that we'll talk about. But first, in the starting, it just shows how, again, and we talked in chapter 1 about our associations, but when it comes to especially the opposite sex attraction and things like that, there's more of a seduction at play. More, it's not necessarily about the association as much as it is about like the attraction of a thing. And sometimes when we're so busy or we're so consumed by what we do, we toss caution to the wind. We say, well, I have every other area locked down. I struggle in this one, but every other area is fine. And I think one of the things that Solomon is pointing out here is that it's important not to dismiss just because every other area of your life might look fine. If there's a struggle that you have, especially, I'm a woman, so I can say this to the women in reference to attraction that you will have to the opposite sex, or same.
Men,
it's a real thing, and it's one of the things that can so uproot and so undermine what it is that you build, is if you the seduction aspect. And so I love how Solomon does this about talking about a specific type of person, how they're like the attraction of it, how they want to undermine. And something that you talked about from chapter 1 was about the discernment aspect. And so wisdom still plays a key in not just our friendships and associations, but the relationships, the significant others that we choose.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was just looking at verse 21. For the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining good. Every path he takes.
Yeah.
An evil man is held captive by his own sins. Verse 22. There are ropes that catch and hold him. 23, he will die for lack of self-control. He will be lost because of his great foolishness. It's the Lord tends to see, but it's so easy to fall into things that it's almost like an eating away, a erosion of.
That's good.
Lost the word. Can't think of the word. Sometimes it can seem like justification and erosion of, but this isn't so bad. But then it will constantly eat at what foundation you may have.
That's good.
And create the erosion.
That's really good.
And at the point where you think you didn't deal with something, now all of a sudden it's an issue.
Yeah. And
it can take it as you didn't see it before, but now it's a glaring situation in your face. So it's understanding and being careful and watchful for the desires that come up, because we're spiritual beings,
living a human experience. Yeah, very human. So I like what you brought up too with the erosion, but how that theme of discipline and self-control is so important, because it doesn't mean, it's not realistic to say that the attraction isn't real. or that it won't try to surface. And if you listen to the You Are Not Your Gift, or you've gone through that one, it talked about how like the enemy knows, there are certain weak spots, vulnerabilities, and even if it's not something that you've dealt with, it doesn't mean that you are exempt. Like the scripture that says pride cometh before a fall, and don't think that just because you haven't dealt with something that you're above it, because sometimes we can let our guard down and get caught up by the thing that we thought we were above, and it's not realistic. So that theme of discipline and self-control, none of us are beyond it, and especially when it comes to attraction and desires. So again, and straight out with it, verse 10, verse 9 says, verse 9 and 10 says, if you do, you will lose your honor and will lose to merciless people all you have achieved. Strangers will consume your wealth and someone else will enjoy the fruit of your labor. And that's not something any of us want to, when we work for something, and there's a generosity aspect, and of course we build so that we can give and be a resource and help for others. But there's that other thing that's like, when we don't have self-control, we're not watching our gates, we're not watching our borders, or we're not as attuned, to what's happening. And so we're allowing, at any point, someone could steal what we've been working for, what we've been building and achieving, because of not having the discipline and self-control. So, this is a theme that we're going to run into with the desire and attraction, because of it's a real, don't get beyond that, which just doesn't happen. So the discipline and the self-control aspect is so important, and it's going to always be a theme. It doesn't matter if you're 18 years old or if you're 50, 60, 70, doesn't matter. And it might not be like a woman or a man, but you know what your attractions are, what your desires are for, and you know the areas that self-control and discipline are needed. So, we want to be people that walk, worthy of what we've been called to, and that includes discipline.
Yeah, I think with Solomon, he dealt with this like really bad, and
Really?
his his aim and his goal was to give us an understanding, a blueprint of how to avoid, whether you're married, in a relationship, or single, or even, there, like you were saying, adding on to, there are things that are desires, and things that can create issues. So
Yeah, guys. So don't let wisdom go. In wisdom, it involves self-discipline, self-control and discipline. So there's so much more. So again, we encourage you, share with us what you've learned, what you gathered from this. There's so much. We know that there's so much to learn and gain from what you've learned and gained as well. That's it for day 5 of our wisdom series. We'll see you tomorrow.